good afternoon. It's John Gillen from Stansberry Research, and I have a pleasure to be here with Jake Bernstein, who is a two-time Pulitzer Prize winner. And you were the first Pulitzer Prize winner that I have ever met, so it is an honor.
Thank you.
You started your talk today talking about CDOs, collateralized debt obligations, and just a quick aside, my roommate in New York, when I just gotten out of college, he wrote a white paper on CDOs.
Huh.
He ended up getting big promotions at Credit Suisse, and the whole thing was not his fault, of course, but pretty pathetic.
Yeah.
So was that kind of the first thing you really investigated in Wall Street, and you were like, this is a house of cards?
No, we actually, I mean, I had done some failed bank stories, sort of doing, archaeology on what had happened with them. And then we were approached by some folks at NPR who had done a wonderful hour-long radio program about the financial crisis, but they felt like there was more there. They needed to investigate, and they couldn't really do that. They weren't set up for it, so they asked us. And we started looking around, and people just kept saying, look at the CDO stuff, and particularly look at the hedge funds that were creating these things to bet against them. And that's how it, we went down the rabbit hole.
Rabbit hole, and 10 years hence,
yes.
Here we are, back at all-time highs. Well, your work on the Panama Papers was fascinating, and so just tell us, you've written a book about this, and 300 journalists working on this dark side of humanity, if you will?
Yeah, all over the world, 300 journalists working in collaboration on this big project. I was the senior reporter for the International Consortium of Investigative Journalists on it. That's how I got involved. And then after it was done, I was still interested in the topic. I mean, there were, at that point, 11.5 million documents. So there was a lot, even with 300 journalists, there was a lot left on the table. And particularly because of the way these leak investigations work, you can't really approach the subject and say, tell me your story while you're working on it. So after it was done, I went to Ramon Fonseca and Jürgen Mossack, the principals behind the firm, and I got them to tell me their story and what it looked like from the inside.
And I love the analogy to the firm. Did you speak to John Grisham at all in the course of this? Because that was a pretty impression on his part, how many years ago when he wrote that book. But the whole, and I couldn't help but notice, but everything kind of circles back to Putin.
Well, with this leak it does, yeah, with the Panama Papers. And the thing is that, Putin and the collection of people around him in Russia are not just using one incorporator. So they were probably working with multiple ones. Mossack Fonseca appears to be one of them, and so we just got that sort of insight into what they're doing. But these guys, they know how to use the offshore system to hide their activities and to move money around. And for the first time, we could really see how it was done.
And I believe you had said that the devoted servant, Putin, was making $180,000 a year.
Something like that,
But you estimate he's worth?
I mean, the estimates have been between 70 billion and 200 billion. I mean, we don't really know. Although one of the interesting things that we saw in the Panama Papers, you can start to see them moving their money to the second generation. So Putin's daughter marries someone who then becomes a billionaire overnight thanks to some inside deals, and some of his friends are moving their money to their kids. So you can see that they're beginning to prepare for for the handover, so to speak.
If I were ever to meet Vladimir, I'd just ask him, can I call you Dad?
Yes.
It's unbelievable. So, Mike, the next question is, are there legit reasons to have an offshore financial system? Do you trust any of this?
I mean, I think that's a really good question, and I think there are legitimate reasons to have, shell companies. I mean, for example, say you have a business in multiple countries and you want to base out of a place that has, a good tax regime for you, which makes perfect sense. Or say, here's another one, say you are gay and you're living in a country that is intolerant of gay people and you want to buy an apartment with your significant other. So you might create a shell company in order to do that and hide the fact that you guys are together in this. Or say that you have a mistress and you want to take care of her. That's not illegal. It might be, questionable in some ways, but there's perfectly legitimate reasons. Or another one that I hear is say that you're afraid of being kidnapped. You live in Colombia or someplace like that, and you don't want people to know the exact amount of your assets or what they are. So there are reasons to have it. The question really becomes, are there reasons to keep a lot of this stuff completely secret?
I've got cousins who live in Tegucigalpa, Honduras, which is
Oh, yeah.
arguably one of the worst countries in
Yes.
the world.
Yes.
So I understand exactly where you're coming from. So anybody who sat through your presentation, we've got to ask, has the Mueller team contacted you?
The Mueller team has not contacted me. ICIJ does not work with governments. They don't hand over data to governments. They don't see that as their role. I mean, they're journalists. So even if the Mueller team did contact ICIJ, and in fact, Preet Bharara, his office in the Southern District, the U.S. Attorney, when he was still the U.S. Attorney, did contact ICIJ and I think was basically told, we're happy to talk to you, but we can't really give you any information.
No, it is fascinating. I know the group that is here, so intrigued, a wonderful audience, because they want to hear the truth,
Yeah.
and they want to do the digging for themselves to really uncover what happened, what has been happening. So it's a pleasure to meet you.
Yeah.
Thank you for coming. And
Thank you, John.
Appreciate it. See you again.
Okay.
If you're enjoying these videos, don't forget to press the like button. Comment down below, and if you're new here, please don't forget to subscribe. And remember to click that bell to be sure you don't miss out on our newest updates. And thanks a lot.